I'm Sherry Hudson-Passy, welcoming you to Gen Friends. I'm from Carolina Girl Genealogy, and I've got a fabulous panel here and our special guests, which I know you guys are excited about. So we're going to quickly introduce our panelists so we can get to talking to our guests. Jenny Hawran's here from Like Herding Cats Genealogy. Hello, Jenny.
Hello, I'm so excited about tonight.
Me too. Me too. Laura Hedgecock is here from Treasure Chest of Memories. Hello, Laura.
Hi, I'm excited too.
We're all so excited. We've got Mary Roddy from MKR Genealogy and from the Applied Genealogy Institute.
I'm
We
happy to
got
be
it.
here, but I have to say I was very sad last night when there was no relative race to watch.
Oh, I
I know,
know.
right?
I
Right?
know. Exactly. Kind of, you sit there going, oh.
It was weird. Like, what do we do? It's
Weird.
nine.
Yeah,
It
total
was weird. It
letdown.
was weird. There we go. In the middle, and my middle anyway, is Shelley Murphy. Dr. Shelley Murphy is here, our family tree girl. Hello.
Hello there, and glad to be here tonight. Ready for this discussion.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad you're here as well. I'm glad you're back from your trip so you could join us. And last but
I
not
gotta
least,
go back.
our panelist, Melissa Barker, our archive lady. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, everybody. Glad to be here tonight.
Such a fun night. Well, as everybody knows who watches Gen Friends knows how much we love relative race, and we follow each of the days of the season. At the end, we try our best to get as many of the team members who are available to be able to pop in and talk to us about the season. So we have Camille from Team Red, and we've got Laura Jean from Team Green. Woohoo! Who have come to join us, and we're hoping some other people will pop in as we go through this time that we're together. So we're hoping that other people will pop in, and if they do, we'll just pull them right on in and make them part of the conversation. But um, wow, what a season! What a just watching you meet your family is just the best thing. And it amazes me every season that we've got people brave enough to do that on camera. You know, we we
Yeah.
we we love everything else. We think the challenges are fun. We all think the challenges are fun. We kind of think Melissa doesn't like the challenges. She'd rather just, a lot of us just say, no challenges. Let's just go straight to meeting the relatives. But I think it kind of breaks up, helps a little bit, maybe. I don't know what you think, but I think that everybody watching knows which team won. I think all those fans, who won? Who
Who
won?
won?
Team Green. So congratulations. That was so
Yes,
Thank you.
kudos.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
And really, Team Red, who would have thought you had all those advantages from the winning, on all those
Yeah,
for.
rub it in, Sherry.
Oh, I'm not
I
trying
know,
to.
right?
It's just the way that things work out sometimes. They work out crazy. But
Yeah,
yeah,
can't count my girls out. Can't count my girls out.
no, they did a great job. Everybody was just, it was just a fabulous season with so many beautiful reunions, so many circles closed, so many questions answered. And I know that probably you've met more people since the race. So what I kind of like to do is get you guys to kind of give us an update, and then I will see what kind of questions the panel wants to ask you about the race. So Laura Jean, give us an update. What's been going on?
Well, since I finally can talk about the
Yes.
the championship, Pam and I don't know if everybody knows, I have a nonprofit called the Fitch Foundation, and we raise money for disabled veteran sports and healthy lifestyles for families, their friends and their families, basically getting veterans in the community. And so my winnings, I basically started my foundation back up on for some programming, for some veterans, and so we've been working with the vet center actually in Yuma and a couple other places around here trying to get some programming going for our veterans, because people always say, oh, veteran suicide, but it's the isolation that
Yeah.
leads to the suicide. So we get our people off the couch, get them going. So yeah, so I've been a busy bee doing that. So
Oh, I love that so much.
Cool.
Dad was a
you.
Congratulations on
Vietnam vet.
that.
Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
wonderful.
Appreciate
And
you.
have you been able to meet any other people since the race, or connected with those that you met on the race, built some
Uh,
more
I
memories?
connected. I connected. I was very excited. As I said before, I wanted to meet my dad, and I met my dad.
Mhm.
And so I rushed back down to Tennessee. And people have lives that that are interesting. So it's like it was just a whole learning experience of
Sure.
learning just that whole side of the family and seeing how many resemblances of
Oh,
things that
yeah.
I do that they
Yeah.
do. And I'm just like, it's just crazy.
Blows our mind every season when we're talking about what happened, on each day. Is, can you believe they had this and this in common? And look how much they looked like each other. So that, as a viewer, always blows our mind. Camille, what about you?
Wow. I feel like so much has happened since the show. So many twists and turns. Um, so right after the show, I immediately introduced my twin brother to our father. That was amazing. His whole world lit up. He was super excited, super stoked. I really enjoyed watching that reunion. Um, one second. Sorry about that. I really enjoyed watching that reunion. Since then, just recently for Thanksgiving, my little brother and my twin brother reunited for the first time. So that was exciting to watch as well.
I love
Guys will be guys, but that
that.
was really cool. And then even more recently, this past Saturday, I met a ton of cousins, my aunt and my uncle on my mom's side
Wow.
in the home of my father's side of the family. So we were
Oh,
all together.
Your
wow.
pictures were
Yeah,
awesome.
it
Yeah,
was
I saw those
it
pictures
was
on
kind
Facebook.
of crazy.
That was
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
But
that's
yeah, other than that, we've just been hanging out, getting to know each other, spending time. Um, I'm a triplet. My dad is also my twin.
awesome. What?
Yeah. My dad is also my twin to a
Yes,
T.
exactly.
I love it. I love it. I love it. It's exciting to just get to know them. There are pros and cons, like it's not all peaches and cream, but
Yeah,
what family is, right?
What family is? I was going to say that.
Exactly. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And
It is hard, I'll be honest.
well, it's good for you to say that, because potential people coming on the show need to hear that too, that it's
Yeah,
not just,
it's not. It's a
butterflies and
lot of
rainbows.
emotions. It's a lot of unexpectedly, like so for example, I went on the show with the anticipation of not really finding my father, right? Like it was a needle in a haystack. That possibility just was not there. So meeting him, learning some details about him, and how we're connected and how I came about, or how I got lost rather, um, it changed my perspective, right? But then the further you get into the conversation, the further you get into revealing some other details, I didn't expect the emotions and the feelings, the negative feelings that I had. You know what I mean? Or the some of the disappointments, or because it wasn't something that I really cared about knowing about, or even thinking that, hey, oh, I have a dad. Like, where is he? Who is he? What's
Right.
his life like? So all of those things are very real feelings, emotions, experiences, along with the good.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. I'm sure there's good and bad. I'm sure
Yeah.
there is. And Laura Jean, I'm sure you have had the same experiences, or maybe not. Maybe everything so far has been really good.
Well, with like on my mother's side, I only met one
Right,
relative, and that
right.
was my sister. And I actually was going to give Tristan a call and talk to Tristan about what my mother actually said, because my mother, um, it's very interesting, the story that I came up with as a child and that was like my reality and how close it was to exact truth.
Wow.
It I was very, I want to say, diplomatic about the thought process. I thought about, okay, what goes on with young women when they get pregnant in 1969? So
Mhm.
and I was like, okay, and I was adopted through the Catholic Social Services. So I had this story in my head that
Sure.
my mother got pregnant, was sent to a convent,
Yeah.
and that I was given away, and
Yeah.
that was what it was, that she was too young.
Mhm.
And when I found out the story from my Aunt Mary Ann, which is
Mhm.
her younger sister, it was exactly that.
Exactly that.
She got pregnant. My grandfather, he was straight from Aviano, Italy, which is another
Mhm.
very close related thing
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
me. And yeah, you're a Catholic, you go to the convent, you are a disgrace. And I didn't know, though, that they put her out. When she went into labor,
Oh.
they put her out. She didn't know if I was a boy or a girl or nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when they called her, and she said, "You'd think I remember having a baby." And that was what she said all her life, because my sister always felt that she had a sibling, but she thought it was a boy.
Wow. Wow. And she was probably told, and your grandparents were probably told that it would stay a secret. Nobody would ever find out because nobody knew about this thing called DNA that was going to come and out everybody's secrets, right?
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, alrighty. Panelists, what are your questions? Probably should talk a little bit too about what happened on day 10. That was cool. Did you guys like all those challenges? I thought it was really fun. It looked fun to us.
I would just like to say, before we start talking about day 10, let's
Yeah.
keep it high vibes, Camille. Love you, baby.
I love you too. Oh my
You
God.
want to see my jetpack? Oh, sorry.
Whatever.
I this
Ooh.
this was probably one of my all-time favorite what do you call it?
Day 10?
Last days.
Day 10. Mine too.
Yeah.
I
Day
agree, Laura.
10.
I really like this
I'm
one.
there with you guys.
I
Yeah.
thought
Thank you.
so many years either someone's gotten hurt or something's been it ended up being unfair. Like you had to have acts of the ability to work an axe or whatever. And the fact that everybody was so close and we didn't have like one dominant team throughout the day, I really, really enjoyed it. And I usually don't love day 10. So I love day 10 this time.
I
Jenny
love
Jenny
day
raised
10.
her hand.
Yeah. Jenny?
Yeah, no, I was going to agree with that because I was thinking back on that, and I said, they were all pretty well matched, with the physical part. There wasn't one, one team that was necessarily better than the other when it came to doing the physical challenges. I knew, though, when I saw Laura Jean break through that wall in the second challenge and she just plowed through it, I was like, they are going to win it. I just have a feeling because women of certain age, because you're around my age, I'm like, you know what, you cannot count these girls out at all.
Yeah, you can't count us out, can you, Camille?
Yeah, that was very
I have to
impressive.
say, Camille was such an ego booster. She was so passionate about the fact that she underestimated me. And I went home with the biggest grin on my face. I'm like, yeah.
Okay, let me give you guys a little insider, okay? So
Yay!
this lady over here that I love so dearly, she's like a sister to me. The whole time, they're doing their thing, they're on the road, you're watching, you're scoping them out. You're like, okay, they're a little on the older side, These challenges are a little bit more physical than what we've been doing. So, okay, so the challenge comes up and I'm like, they ask us, who do you want to match up against? And I pick Laura Jean. I'm like, I got Laura, like all day, right? I'm gonna kill it. This chick takes off like a jetpack, like takes off. And they don't show it, but I literally stood there looking at her running. And I was like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? In that moment, I had a total breakdown. I was just like, oh, I done messed up. I done messed up big time. But it was all fun. Catching up to her was fun. Absolutely terrifying when I got to the puzzle. But I love her and I'm glad. I am so happy that they won.
Yeah.
It couldn't
Those
have been a better team.
They were great. Those puzzles, though, I always think to myself, no matter how good you are at puzzles, you're under so much stress and pressure and time. I would have been just staring at those puzzles going, my brain does not know how to comprehend how to get this done.
Oh, the
Yep.
slidey puzzle, you mean?
Any puzzles, I would have just gone,
Oh,
oh.
see, I thought the slidey ones was such a wild card because even if you're halfway good at them, that's so easy one time just to get it wrong.
She
And
killed it. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know if you guys actually watched it, but she was gone. She was
Yeah.
a total madhouse. And I was just like, oh, she's done this before. Because I was just lost. I was lost in the sauce.
I
So
would have been
lost in the sauce.
I would have been too. There's no way I would have figured it out. Too much stress, too much because it was all on the line. And so, yeah, I wouldn't
See,
have.
they knew what they were doing. They went physical and mental for these
Yes.
challenges.
And I think that's
Yeah.
smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that evens the playing field for everybody. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I've
It
always
sure
said that
did.
some of the challenges in the past have been the day 10s have been all physical, and I've thought that's such a disadvantage to some people who maybe can't do all physical. And so I'm glad to see a mixture.
Yeah.
Mary, what were you
It
going to say?
definitely was different.
Well, I was just going to comment just, with the physical and then the mental after, just kind of that ordering also can really impact I loved seeing the mental stuff because I'm beyond a woman of a certain age. So I'd be much more about the puzzles, but yeah, you guys did a great job.
It was a lot of fun. Go ahead, Jenny.
No, I was just going to say while we're still talking about the challenges, do you have a hard time remembering all the rules of the challenges? Like, do you have to ask for any clarification? Because some of these,
We don't
this
see it.
season, yeah, I'm like, how do they remember what to do? When
They-
especially.
Oh, God, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. It's especially if there's a
Well,
lot of
I mean,
steps.
you got to think bigger, right? So it's TV, it's production.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
stuff like this, although the show is not scripted and everything is really our first take.
Mhm.
But when it comes to rules and regulations and things like that, they do verbalize, like they read a manuscript, like that tells them, okay, this is the way we're going to do this. This is the rules. This is what we're going to follow. Now, each team doesn't know if each team is being told the same thing, right? Because we're all in
Right.
different states. But,
That part.
for me and my team, they gave it to us verbatim, like
Yeah.
verbatim per page. Like we were able to ask questions.
Oh, good.
In some scenarios, they explained like piece by piece what they wanted us to do. So that worked. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
that-
But it was very clear. And it's not as difficult as you think.
Yeah.
I had a question about because it was you guys that was with Team Blue, right? That you guys were going head to head.
Yeah.
How did that's kind of a rare experience. How did that feel different to you?
Oh,
Was it a good thing to have the head to head, or did it kind of throw you off your game?
So that particular day, me and my partner kind of hit a milestone. It was a tough day. I'll just say that. It was a really, really tough day. And so that was also the day we lost our winning streak. So going head to head was not on our minds at all.
Yeah.
We were definitely thinking about other things. We were definitely going through the motions about other things. And I feel like we did a really good job hiding it, trying to maintain the communication, maintain working together as a team and getting it done. So to be completely honest, the guys were not on our mind at all. And we had it. We had it until we slipped off that beam
Yes.
and Team Blue passed us. And then it was a wrap after that. But it
Exactly.
was, I will say this, what they don't tell you when you're matching with a stranger team
Mhm.
on a TV show like this one, and you're both going through the emotions and you're having different emotions, different feelings. We're not related, right? So we're both meeting our families separately, but together. So
Mhm.
like Laura Jean and Pam, they have each other. The brothers had each other. Team Black were family, but the
Yes.
stranger team, we're all strangers.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
I
production team, the people we're meeting, each other, like we're physically, literally alone,
Yeah.
trying to get along, trying to understand what we're going through,
Mhm.
and have each other's back, have each other's safe space for one another.
Right.
So on that day, losing that winning streak had nothing to do with going head to head. And if it had been any other day, to answer your question, I would have been all for it. I would have had
Mhm.
fun. It would have been amazing. It would have been cool because I like the competition, right? I'm a go-getter. But that particular day had nothing to do with the head to head,
Hmm.
have to
like at all.
say,
Go
with
ahead. Go ahead,
the
Laura.
stranger team, I have to give them kudos because you guys behind the scenes didn't get to see how everybody interacted at the beginning. And we all joked around and we came really close really quick.
Really quick.
And like we got pictures of all of us in the hotel room. We changed shirts into each other's colored shirts and sent Brad and all of our guys pictures, see
Yeah,
if
that
we
was
noticed.
fun.
Yeah.
And I have to say there, we could tell when we got on our night videos, the stress that the stranger team goes through. And every time they both pulled it off, they had their smiles on. You could tell that they had some things that they were getting over, but they were learning each other while they were doing this show. And they came out sisters, and it was
Well,
beautiful.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, for us on the other end watching it, that's how it felt. Is
Yeah.
watching, bond and get stronger and stronger and be there for each other and be those sisters, by the end.
And
And
they
so,
fight like sisters.
Don't be telling all our business.
I have a question, Cheri. Um, now that the show is over, and I know you talked about Thanksgiving or y'all getting together, is any one of the relatives close to any of you all, at least within an hour? That you know what I mean? Because we saw the distance in the driving, but now that you are back home, both of you, are you within at least an hour of one of those relatives or interactions that you had?
The first relatives that I met was Cindy and Michael. And the I wish I didn't have a picture, but Michael looks exactly like my adopted brother who passed away.
oh, wow.
And so that's one of the reasons why I was in tears. But Michael, while Cindy lives on the East Coast, Michael lives in Colorado Springs, an hour away. But
Oh,
Okay.
they just had a baby, and I haven't seen it. I haven't seen this baby yet. And unfortunately, right after they had the baby, her parents came to visit, and her father dropped dead in their backyard.
oh my
So
my
I've not had a
God.
chance to go down and visit because they had to go back to the East Coast.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, my father and my brother and my sister in Tennessee are the only ones that I've seen so far. So
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
sorry to hear that, though.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it
That's,
was just one thing after another. It was the
Yeah.
weirdest thing.
Yeah.
yeah.
Terrible.
But congratulations on the new baby that's in the
Oh,
family.
thank you.
Right, right.
And you know what? I look at it as he got to
Yeah.
see the baby, It was perfect timing to a certain extent.
Sure, sure.
That's true.
And what
That is-
about you, Camille? Anyone within us? I'd say an hour because that's about as good I am driving by my.
Oh, you
Well,
East Coast for you.
for
Huh?
me,
East
I
Coast are
recently
you?
moved from Hawaii, so they were
Okay.
all far from me.
Yeah.
And I won't say where I am now
Okay.
for
But can
specific
I ask where
reasons.
you were at in Hawaii? Because I
Honolulu.
lived in Mililani, so that's
I
why.
was in Honolulu.
Got it.
I
Okay.
was on the main island, I guess.
Yeah.
But I recently did move, and so my family is not an hour, but they are within driving
reach.
distance.
Great.
Yeah,
Good.
Great.
they are within driving distance, which I am happy about. Not all of them. So my little brother is in Virginia,
Mhm.
and everyone else is within driving distance of each other.
And whereas
So
how
yeah.
far are you and Precious close? Either
No,
way.
we're 34
Opposite.
hours. We're far.
Okay.
We're far. We're definitely a flight for sure.
Have you
Okay.
seen each other since the show?
No, we have not. We have talked, we've spoken. I'm still connected with her families as well. They're amazing. I love them. But she's precious. She's doing her thing, working.
Yeah.
Kind of
Well,
disappointed she's not here, but
yeah, me too.
next
Right?
time.
What the
Me
hey?
too.
I know, right? You should text her, Laura.
Yeah,
Get on
tell
her
her,
head.
everybody, we're
and
still on. Hop in for just a minute and let us see you.
sure. One other question though. If you had to do it all over, would you? And that goes to both of you.
I'm texting Precious.
Okay.
That's a loaded
That's a good one,
question.
Laura Jean. That's a good one.
So I'm
So,
gonna be honest.
Camille, basically, you know what you went through, what you also have found out, what you experienced. Would you do it again?
That's a
Camille,
hard question
I know.
because
That's why I'm asking.
because there's so many reasons why the answer is yes and why the answer is no.
No. Yeah. Okay.
To be completely honest and fair, yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
I would say yes because it was an experience that every person who is missing their loved one, their relative that has no idea who they are, where they are, should definitely do it because it's a once in a lifetime opportunity and it's life changing. But no, because nobody tells you about Pandora's box.
Right.
Right.
Nobody tells you about the pain. Nobody tells you, like, so just to put it plainly, growing up, I spent my entire life crying, sobbing, asking God, like, where's my family? Why? Blah, 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 blah. But at like, I don't know, my mid 20s, 23 to 25, I finally came to an acceptance that it was never going to happen. Like, it was time to grow up. It was time to move on from those emotions, those feelings, stop asking those questions, stop letting the weight of it just keep me from living my life and like enjoying what is of my life.
Right.
And then a few years later, I decided to scroll through TikTok and here's the application for relative weight race. And I said, why not? And I did it and I found my entire family.
Right.
And so now all of those emotions, all of those feelings, all of the questions, all of the anger, all of the sadness, the thankfulness, the gratefulness, all of it is just coming back. And it's hard. It's hard for me. Like, I'm truly navigating it and it's really, really hard. It's emotional just talking about it because I thought I was past it, but in reality, I just suppressed it because you can't really deal with it until you're facing it and you're dissecting it and you're talking to those people and you're healing and you're moving on and you're processing. But then you meet people and they're of a certain age or they're set in their ways or they don't want to talk about the past or they do want to talk about the past but they don't have all the information or they just want to spend time getting to know you now. So there's just a lot. There's a lot to it.
And all that in the past is done. Let's start from here and go forward. And that's the kind of an image that I have with a lot of the scenarios we've seen over the several seasons, that no matter what, because of all those emotions and answers that you've got, some people, that's, we just build it from here on. Whatever that was or not was, it's back there. Let's go from here. you know, and
But the
that's
hard reality of that is it's not that simple.
yeah.
Yeah.
For some people, you can't. You
Right.
have to talk about it. They need that to move forward. They need that closure. Because what happens is when you're dealing with an adopted child or a fostered kid or a kid that's been discarded that is now a grown person, all those feelings of anger and neglect and abandonment come back. Because
yeah.
now they're seeing you standing in front of you, they see your life and they're wondering what happened. You know, you can't just not explain. You can't just not have something to tell them and expect everything to be okay moving forward from today on, you know, because the reality is there's pain.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
for kids, as they're growing up, an adopted parent only knows so much. We're only to, I've got kids that I've adopted, and they only would tell us so much. And
Yeah.
all I could do was tell them what I
What
know.
you know.
And
Yeah,
that's all I
exactly.
can do.
And that's the protection for you and the adopted and the biological family as well, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
and
really think that they need to change that within the
Yeah.
system itself.
information, and I think some states are better than others at it. And
Yeah.
yeah, so and some of the information that we have found, some of the information we received wasn't true.
Yeah.
And
And
there's
so
always that chance, and we know
Yeah.
that as genealogists.
Yeah,
that we
exactly.
come across, because just because it's on a document doesn't mean it's true or
Yep.
valid.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know.
Living proof. My father is living proof of that. Everything I thought I knew, everything that was told to me was not the truth,
Yeah.
like at all.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for
Thankfully.
sharing that, though. Thank you for
Thankfully.
sharing
Yeah.
that, because I think there's listeners or people that might be contemplating this or in the similar situation or about to meet somebody, you know, whatever the circumstances are, but to know it's okay to be okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
in questioning. So thank you for that. And Laura, that question now was to you. Would you do it all over again? Then I give it back to Cheri. So,
Or whoever else wants to ask a question.
yes. Yeah.
If you had asked me right after I got back from visiting Tennessee, when I got back, I went back.
Yeah.
I would have told you no.
You're right. Okay.
I would have told you no. And Camille is very spot on about the emotions that you don't realize. I was adopted 12 and a half years after my adoptive family's fourth child. So I kind of grew up alone.
Right.
And when I, as the adopted child, was the one that took them all the way to the grave. Both my parents were terminal, and I had them live with me. I buried them both, and I did what I felt I want my kids to do for me.
Right.
And now visiting, when I went back to Tennessee to visit, my father he was sprayed with Agent Orange in Vietnam.
Yeah, so was my dad. Gotcha, I understand.
So
Yeah.
was my brother.
He's got so many health issues.
Right.
And when I went back, the Parkinson's that he just was diagnosed with last year, that's just something he's starting to deal with. And he yelled at me, and I literally was like, he changed up on me. And I have a service dog, and he did not accept my dog, and I flew all the way out there with my dog in between my legs, and he called me on the plane and said, "Don't bring that dog." And I went, "Wait, what?"
Right.
And so I realized once I got back and everything, talking to the nurses that work with our veterans, Parkinson's can make you mean.
Yeah.
And, it was like one conversation, and he's just like, "I'm tired of paying for your mistakes." And I just went, "What?" And so we realized that the Parkinson's is starting to really affect him. And so when I got back, I was so crushed and so hurt. I was like, was I just brought to this? Because I was anonymously signed up.
Oh.
I didn't know who signed me up. And I actually I was on the phone kind of fighting with Tristan, because I thought she was an ex-boyfriend trying to get back in touch with me after 3 years.
Oh gosh.
Oh no.
So
Oh, poor Tristan.
Will you ever find out who signed you up?
no, never did.
Wow.
And it was
You mean the show allows someone to do that anonymously?
when they asked me if I wanted to do it, I
Right.
said, well, I still didn't believe it. I still thought it was my ex's
Some kind of
friend trying to,
spam,
find out
some
where I
kind of-
was and stuff. And so she's like, oh no, just go on to YouTube and look up relative race and take a look. And I saw the is it Where They Are Now with the
Yeah.
two boys that didn't drive and they
Yeah.
introduced
Brothers.
their dad
I love
right at
them.
the beginning. I called Pam and I'm like, you have to do this with me. And she's like, okay. And I was like, done. So, but no, I did. I felt very, very lost and very upset when I got back. And I was like, this was a mistake. I have another person I have to take to the grave, if you will.
Mhm.
Right.
And, and our relationship, has been very minimal, but my brother, who, he's the power of attorney for my dad, thank goodness. He and I are very close, and we,
Good.
for like 2-3 months, we talked every day.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so, that went really well. And that kind of changed my mind. I realized, no, I've got the experience, and my brother's 40 and
Mhm.
my dad's 75 and my younger sister on my dad's side's 29.
Yes.
Bless
That's
her
a
heart. She's so young. She's just
Yeah.
starting. And
Yeah.
so, it's like I was brought to because I've got the experience and I know how to handle it. So
So,
Well,
so
thank you
listening to you
also
both, it sounds
for
to me
sharing.
like that you completely understand what Jopi was going through when she had to leave
Yes.
with the emotions and the everything, which we've, was, I'm sure, just very, very heavy on her.
well, I have to say, and I don't want to talk out of, that's
No, and we
Joby's
don't want you
personal,
to. No. Yeah.
but Joby, we didn't know, and I'm sure I can say all this now. We didn't know what had actually happened.
Right.
And so we were devastated. All
I'm
three of the
sure.
teams were devastated because we seriously thought that, one story that came by was that she found out her mom was dead on Mother's Day and her dad was dead the next day. And I was like, I don't know if I could have handled that. And so that's why we thought, oh my goodness, poor Joby.
Yeah.
So yeah, our hearts were out to the Black team the entire show.
Oh, yeah. All of us were. All of us were.
Oh, we
and-
were crying.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's devastating, especially when you're trying to look for somebody. And that was one of my fears was
Mhm.
everybody's going to be dead. I'm 74 or
Yeah.
I'm 54
I was
and
gonna say,
my
you're not
dad's
74.
75.
I was
So I
about
was
to say,
like,
you look so good for 74.
oh,
Girl, right?
Look like that in 2 years because I'm 72. So
Give me
But
what you
Camille-
drinking.
Camille,
kudos, girl.
you did have to go through that, though. You had to go through finding out that you had a parent that was.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I just said, and Camille did have to find that out on the show, though.
Absolutely.
That had to be so difficult to get through that and then get up the next day and continue on. So our hearts went out to you as well. And it's I don't know. It's just I just feel like you're all so brave because you've got these cameras in your face. I do know, and
Right?
we have talked to enough throughout the seasons to know that if you wanted them to stop, they would stop.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have had people come on and said, we told them to stop and they stopped for us just so we can, take a breath. So
I will say that my experience when I found out my mom was no longer here, what you guys didn't see was I think it was the day Precious met her dad. And for a half a second, I thought it was my people because I was like, okay, like the sister kind of made me think that it was my people, because everybody that I met, I thought was her people because they like race, right? So it was funny. But the day she met her dad, I had a horrible breakdown. Like I just tucked
Oh.
away into a room, and I just was in shambles, broken, in tears, crying, because I think at that point we were at the midway point. And
Mhm.
I've been watching the seasons from the
Yeah.
beginning. I've
Yeah.
dissected it. I have pulled it, peeled it apart, and I'm
Mhm.
like, my mom's not here.
Yeah.
Like, I literally came to that realization, like,
Mhm.
we're here, we're at the midway point. Mother's Day is tomorrow. My
Right.
mom's not here, or I'm gonna get her tomorrow. That was
Mhm.
my thought. But then I also knew Precious had the opportunity to potentially meet her mom. So I
Right.
was like, so many emotions at that point. So then going into the next day, and I met a cousin, and they always do that. They give you a
Yeah.
cousin when there's
Yeah.
no other relatives,
Right.
when there's just very little, like, to as a place value for something else, right? Um, but when I met my cousin on my paternal side, in that very moment, because I don't know if you can see it, it was all over my face
Mhm.
when the camera turned and we got ready to walk inside. I just
Mhm.
kind of froze, taking
Mhm.
in that reality that it's Mother's Day. She's not
Mhm.
here. I'm not gonna meet her.
Mhm.
So I had to, like, mentally shift gears and
Mhm.
know that, hey, I'm in front of these two family members. I have to be present. I have to um make myself available, even
Yeah.
though I'm having all of these feelings, all of these emotions, and I just want to crawl in a hole and disappear. And
Mhm.
so that when he gave the news to me,
Mhm.
I fell apart all over again, but this time on camera. So I had to restrain. And that was hard, because right after he told me that my mom was gone,
Yeah.
we had to sit in front of that camera and do the day 10 results. Like, it wasn't even 8 minutes after.
Oh. Oh. Oh my gosh.
And
Wow.
I wanted to go into a room.
I'm
I
sure
wanted
you.
to disappear from everyone and
Yeah.
feel it for a second.
Oh
And
yeah.
it was 8 minutes to the
Oh.
letter that I had to
Oh.
sit there, put a smile on my face, think about other people, think about the race. It
Yeah.
was hard, okay? It
Yeah.
was extremely hard.
Oh.
But I
Oh,
did
that
it.
breaks my heart
I
for
did
you.
it, you know. And I'm glad that I now know where she is. You
Yeah.
know, I know that she's resting.
Yeah.
Um, but it was not easy, because she was the only reason
Yeah.
I did the show.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You,
Exactly.
you know, the interesting thing is because you guys filmed so much earlier than it was aired, I don't think any of us put together Mother's Day
Oh, we
No.
did it.
until Joby
No.
put up
Till
a
Joe
post on
said, yeah.
Facebook explaining that that had happened.
Yeah.
And I can see why that date just makes everything more
Puts
tender.
everything in a, yeah, it puts everything in a perspective, doesn't it? What was
I don't
going
think
on?
they realized it, the way they, like, put everybody in a lineup. Because I was like, why didn't, like, in my mind, I was thinking, and this is no disrespect to relative race, because when you really look at the whole picture, I don't think that it really came down to days. I think it came down to everybody's capability and where they could be at what day, you
Right.
know?
Exactly.
But I was like, in the moment, I was like, why didn't they give Precious her mom today?
Yeah.
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 You
I was
know?
I was thinking the same thing when we came
That's what
on.
it was so, like, earth shattering and heart wrenching, and
Mhm.
just it crushed me.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
all I could think about. I didn't actually take a step back and, like, think about everybody else in terms of, like, oh, certain people had health issues, depending on where people's work schedules fell, the
Right.
distances between both families,
Sure.
hers and mine, and how they could pair people and put people in which states, or, people coming together close enough to be able to do
Exactly.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
But yeah, it was hard. It's there's a lot behind the scenes. That's why I think we appreciate when people take a step back, when they're asking questions, and they're,
Mhm.
having their assumptions, and they're thinking about what
Oh,
took place and what happened, to
Mhm.
right.
understand that, yes, it is a TV show, but there's a lot that
But
goes into making it happen, that
Right.
people tend to forget, you know?
Mhm. Exactly.
And we're
Exactly.
on the receiving side, so it all
Right.
looks good and easy. In
Yeah.
what
I mean, it
aspect?
is good though. Like, don't
Yes,
get
yes,
me
it
wrong.
is.
It's beautiful. Like
Yeah.
what they've been able to put together,
Mhm.
it's beautiful. It is a
Mhm.
beautiful story. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thank you both for sharing that. I think it goes back to someone else. Mary, right? Any questions you had?
I know there was one, but I can't remember what it was.
It'll come back. It'll come back to you. It'll come back to you.
Yeah, it'll
Um,
come back.
well,
Well, now I have a
while you're,
question.
oh, go ahead, Melissa.
I was just going to say, Camille brought up something in amongst what she was talking about is one of the questions that we always ask every season is what was filmed with your sections that didn't make it on TV?
Right. We always
But
ask
you wish
that.
That's
had.
a
But
good
you wish
one.
had. Yeah.
Yes.
Who's going?
Go ahead, Laura.
So, I'm a member of a all-female motorcycle club.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to get all of my group together, and the timing didn't work out, but we did this entire shoot on this area downtown with my leathers and everything on, and they showed nothing.
Nothing.
I
And
would have loved to have seen that because I ride too. My husband and I both ride.
hang on one second.
Yeah, go ahead. Camille, is there something you wish they had shown that they cut out of yours?
Oh, look at that. Diamond
That's awesome.
stilettos.
Stilettos.
Nice.
So yeah, they did that one, and then also I do business consulting on the side, but my main passion is the Fitch Foundation. And when that very first episode came on, they're like, she's a business consultant. I was like,
Oh.
so yeah, so they picked and choose, but they did mention my foundation because I got a couple of people who contacted me and stuff and said they saw it. So that was yeah. I was like, okay.
Camille, what did you hope that they would show and they got cut out?
Well, I thought it was kind of interesting that they filmed everybody's workplace and having a job, but they left mine out. We did this.
Oh, see, that's why I just had to ask you what.
Yeah. We did this whole thing about my workplace and what I do for a living and all of that. And I think there was, with hospitals, there's a lot of controversy about
Yeah,
what's legal and what's within the bounds. And so
yeah,
I think it made it difficult. So
probably.
they just probably felt to keep it out altogether, but you'll see like a snippet here and there, which is funny, but yeah.
Here's a twist on that question. What surprised you when you watched the show? What surprised you about another team that you didn't know about at the calls? Was there anything that you learned or that happened to them that you didn't know about before you watched the episodes?
Not for me.
You knew it all.
We really shared a lot before we first started. We really spent like the entire LensWorks, BYUtv, everybody was in that hotel. There was thousands, it felt like, people, and we all just kind of got together. We, sat in the bar. Some of us drink, some of us don't, but we goofed off and took pictures and talked. And so we kind of knew each other's story from day one. And it was great. And, Daniel and Johnny were, everybody was just so great.
Yeah, we're all very, very close. We still talk. We have a group chat that we literally connect and talk and share pictures and stories every day, where some of us are making plans to
You're gonna have to
visit
get on
and get
them about
together.
not hopping on this tonight. So we really wanted to be able to do a reunion show with y'all. So yeah, we're kind of sad that they weren't
I
able to.
know.
Mary, did you think of your question?
No, I know it was something we talked about during one of the weekly things, and it's like that was a really good question, but of course I didn't write it down and I don't remember.
Jenny?
I do actually have one
go ahead, Mary. Yeah,
that wasn't from before, but and feel free to say, I just don't want to talk about that, Laura Jean. Your adoptive family. I mean, has your relationship with any of them changed with what you experienced in the race for whatever reason?
No, not at all. Actually, no one reached out to me except my niece. One of my nieces who was very young when I should say she was late coming. And so she and I moved away because my husband was in the military. And so I didn't really know her. She reached out to me and told me what a bad person I was for making her mommy feel bad. And then my other niece from my other niece, I'm sorry, my other, I guess would it be my great niece? That's my niece's daughter who told me I was bad. And then my other niece's daughter texted me and goes, "Don't you listen to her? You're amazing." And and she has no right saying those things. Her mom is terrible. And I was like, I'm not getting in the middle of it. But I did not get a phone call from anybody. I don't even know if they watched the show, nothing. So I'm sure they did because my niece's daughter came at me, but no, that's really it. And what can they say? What can they say? That was my experience.
Yeah, exactly.
That was my experience. I was a child. I was 12 and a half years younger than them. And I remember some bad things. And I honestly didn't think of it as bad things growing up. I just thought of it as they were teasing me and, being my sisters and, my brothers and stuff. So I didn't expect bad things, which I guess made it better for me. I was ignorant.
Good way of dealing with it and coping with it to be up,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Someone else had a question? If
Oh,
not,
I did. I was just curious. So when the show ends and the production ends, do you all like go right home, or can you hang out together for a day? Like what's the deal? Do you have to all scatter once the cameras turn off?
Time is everything. And so as soon as they get done, they're wrapping up because the way it was explained to me is they've got thousands of hours of editing and all of that to do. So we didn't, matter of fact, I was like, can we have dinner together, everybody? And they were like, you guys can, but your crews can't. And I was like, oh. So they took off real quick. We had one night and I think we all left the next morning, didn't we, Camille?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just had that night and then we got our group chats going and stuff. So
Daniel posted a video. It says day 11. He's walking through an airport. So
of course.
Yo,
that's hosting for you.
Everybody went home. So.
There was a whole, well, I don't know. Camille, did you get home fine?
Oh yeah, it was smooth sailing for me.
They dropped everybody off at the airports at different times. Are we losing people? I feel like it's flipped around.
No, I didn't.
No.
Melissa turned the camera off for a second. But
I had to sneeze. I'm sorry.
How dare you?
No, we all went to the airport at crack of dawn, and Pam and I were like, "Oh, our flight's at 9. We'll just chill out and have some yogurt or something at the airport." And our flight was canceled, and so then
that's what you get for winning.
Nikki,
Put on that 50,000 real quick. You're okay. You ain't in no hurry.
So we get on the phone and we're like, "Hey, Nikki, our flight was canceled. Oh, let me reschedule it." So she rescheduled it. We're sitting there, and they're like, the flight was supposed to be at 11, and we're like, okay, and everything. 11, we're sitting at the gate. There's nobody at the gate.
Oh gosh.
She accidentally booked us for the PM.
Oh no.
So then we get back on the phone.
Humble y'all. She was just trying to humble y'all.
That's when you gotta make a call to Tito.
Exactly.
So yeah, no, I think Pam and I got home about 7 p.m.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. That's a call to Tito.
That's so
fun.
And cranberry juice.
Oh, I have a new one. So I don't drink. And so people are always like, "Oh, try this." It is apple is it apple crown, pineapple, and cherries with a little grenadine?
Yes, girl. Now you
Completely
talking.
delightful. It's delightful. It's so light. I love it. So yeah, I had one.
That sounds interesting.
I
It's really
know.
good.
Look
Yeah,
at
I
Jen
only
Friends
have
now
one.
sharing recipes.
I might have
hilarious.
started something.
Yep, you might
I'll
have. Let's
follow
reel
up
it
with
back.
you on that one,
Yeah.
Camille. I'd like to at
Usually
least
do.
taste it.
Yeah, you usually
Yeah.
do, Shelley. You usually do start something. So
Yes,
Ah.
yes, yes.
My soul tribe, come on.
Yes.
When
gosh.
Camille and I met and stuff, we were giving each other, we were saying little things the other. So the big thing I was always saying, I was like, you'll walk over, but you'll limp away.
Oh.
I have a final question from me,
Yeah.
and then I'll be
Okay.
quiet again.
You're good.
We're all genealogists and researchers, and everybody on here has probably been doing this for years.
Decades.
So, yes, I already said my age. So anyway, and I've got kids the ages of what I've been doing this. But my question is, prior to seeing the TikTok, seeing the video, watching this show, what genealogical research had you done? Because people, we hear comments somewhat from, the guests or the teams that I'm adopted, I tried to find or didn't find, or this, that, and other. What did each of you guys do prior to getting on this journey? Because something probably, in my opinion, contributed to either not finding that made you say, yes, I'm going to do it. So I'll leave it at that.
Camille.
So my story is a little complicated, I guess you could say, because I was fostered immediately after my birth, and then I was adopted a few years later, and then I was unadopted. So with that in mind, I believe I was probably about 9 when I started to really ask the questions about who am I, where am I coming from, who are all these people, what's going on, and then getting the confirmation that I'm not with my biological family. No one has any answers. So then at about 16 is when I started looking. So I went online trying to retrace all the names that they allegedly said was mine or that I was connected to. I would call the courts to figure out, well, how do I get my birth certificate, the original one? Because as an adopted kid, it's amended for the adopted mother to be able to list her name or his or her or whoever is adopting. And then it's like a whole new identity in a way, because the original birth certificate from the original parent is just null and void. It just steals away. It's like it doesn't exist. So then I realized, okay, well, I was adopted. Let's go back to the agency in which I was adopted, and let's trace it back to the state and the hospital I was born. So I called the hospital first. At 16, I was 1 year away from when it was going to send it to some vault, all the records for that year.
Oh, wow.
Out. So they were able to direct me to the agency I was adopted out of. And I got a hold of the adoption agency, and I spoke to the woman who literally did my adoption.
Oh, wow.
She was still there.
Wow.
And she gave me all this paperwork, all this stuff about my family. But on the documentation, it had only listed all of my siblings' first names and the time that they were born at that day, on that day, in that year, right? And then what happened? A year later, and then as far as my parents, it stated that my mom's name was Felicia, but it was Felicia Long O'Connor, right? And then my dad was Timothy O'Connor. Yeah, Timothy O'Connor. So it suggested that they were married.
Mhm.
Obviously, they weren't. And
Mhm.
obviously, the names are wrong or
Different.
not completely accurate. But a year later, the woman that gave me all that information ended up getting fired.
Oh.
So
Because
it,
she gave that info?
pretty sure she probably didn't go through the proper channels because
Process.
she remembered me and my brother like to the T, like verbatim, like what we did, how we acted, which family she gave us to, like verbatim. But I feel for people in that industry because
Sure.
kids do come back. They come back and they're asking questions and they're looking. And how hard is it to know that this person is either of age or an adult and or not of age, but they have consent from an adult to seek this information, and then they're giving somebody this information. They want to pour it. They want to pour it out. They want to say, here's your family, find them, whatever, whatever. Because now looking at it, learning from my family today, they never gave consent. Like they never denied consent to me finding them because they were looking for me too. My mom's side anyways. So, because you run into that a lot too, where maybe the parents didn't give consent, the family members didn't give consent, you're not able to find them,
Right.
So for me, that's the full extent of what I did. And then I did that for years, and then I just couldn't find anyone. Like no matter what I did, I couldn't find anyone. And then ironically, my brother on my mom's side, Terrence, and I'm starting this way because this is the first in line. He's in Sacramento, or he was. And then I was in Bakersfield. And then my dad's side of the family was in Los Angeles. My twin was in San Diego. And then as the years filtered through, me, my mom, my aunt, and my sister were all in Phoenix, Arizona, and my uncle in the same year and lived around the corner from each other, like in the same circles, but never knew it.
Yeah.
And then we all lived in LA for a stint at the same time, didn't know it, but I mean, LA is like so big, right?
Yeah.
And then I have an adopted brother in Sacramento, in the same place that my biological brother lives. So it's just so interesting how close we all really were all this time and could never find each other.
Right.
Right there.
Never.
That's amazing.
37 years.
Yeah. That is
It's a
amazing.
long time.
That's long.
Laura
Laura
Jean,
Jean.
were you looking?
I wasn't looking because my adoptive mother, she was very paranoid my whole life, and
She'd
always say, "Are you looking for your real mom? Are you looking for your real mom?" And she had Alzheimer's in the end, and so the thing that kind of sparked my interest and why I said yes was to be on the show. She told me when I was very young that my mother was in college and that she got pregnant and gave me up for adoption so that she, because she was in college still. And then as she got into her disease, she was like, "Your mother was so young. She wasn't even out of high school yet." And I was like, "Wait, what?" So I kind of got two stories.
Yeah.
And so, just she kept telling me, and the one time I did look, I called Catholic Social Services in 1989 because I weighed 114 pounds when I was younger, and I was pregnant at 170 pounds. And so they told me I needed to find some history, see if I had illnesses and stuff. And so I reached out to them and they are like, "Oh, for $50, we can tell you if we have records." And I was like, "What?" And she goes, "And then if you would like, for an additional $300, we can give you the records, but that's not telling you that it won't be wiped out." And I was like, "What?" And I did later on when I got rid of my parents' stuff and everything, I did find a record, but it was all redacted. It was all blacked out. You couldn't see my mom's name. You couldn't see anything on it. And so I just was like, "Oh, well." So
Yeah.
that was the only time I really looked for it. My mom was when I was pregnant, and yeah, I just never did after that. So
Okay.
Goodness.
Appreciate your answers.
Yeah. Appreciate those too. And,
Because as much as we're always looking, we're hoping someone else is looking and we find each other to either help for our own family or for clients or whatever. So, yeah.
well, I have to say that it was very interesting. Like I was saying, that so much of the story became like it was reality, and it was very interesting because my dad or my sister told me that my Aunt Mary Ann kind of filled her in before we got to meet. And my sister told me that my mom used to go down to this restaurant that my grandfather worked at. So instead of going out and about in the summer or babysitting Mary Ann, my mother Cecilia would go to the restaurant with her dad, and she'd go to the beach and everything. So when I talked to my dad would tell me about this amazing chef named Johnny down at this bar and grill. And he even showed me a picture of the bar with his Corvette out front. And he was telling me all about this guy named Johnny. Well, my grandfather's name is Giovanni, and everyone calls him Johnny. So my dad and my grandfather knew each other.
Yeah.
That connection.
Amazing.
But my father did not know that my mother got pregnant. My dad went on to Vietnam again and never had a clue.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, y'all are there together now.
Right?
Yeah.
Thank
That
you.
is amazing. Well, we could keep you here all night, but I know y'all are probably but I would like for you to give the information or the message to the rest of the season 14 teams, how much we appreciated them sharing their journeys, how much we loved watching them be able to, make those connections and find their family. And we hope that everything is going well, that things are progressing and those relationships are still being built and they're still finding other people and I'm sure that maybe we'll connect. Maybe when season 15 comes around, we can have you all hop on and tell us how you're feeling about the new season. And
Good. That'd be very good.
So maybe we can touch base with y'all then and maybe with them too, because we just love talking to you and we appreciate you so much for sharing this and the help that you give to other people, because you help more than you think that you do. You help those people who are looking for parents. Parents that are looking for their children, adopted parents that are worried about their kids looking for their biological family. I've completely am support all my kids now. Are you going to do this? And they know that they can come to me and I will help them. And it's because of all of the seasons of Relative Race have helped me to see how much I knew it was a needed thing, but now I understand. And so you help so many people. And so I hope you know that. As much as it's hard, but you're helping so many people when you go through this. The show is fabulous. And one last thing I forgot to ask, but it seems like so many of the seasons, there's this separate person that gets connected that they weren't expecting. And Laura Jean, you had that. So real quick, tell us how is that going? You meet a cousin who says, look for my dad, and then
it was emotional and I was terrified because there's a lot of conversation that went on between Kara and I. Thank you. I'm on a Zoom. Sorry.
Okay.
So there was a lot of conversation between Kara and I that wasn't on the show.
Oh, I'm sure.
And she was telling me her trials and tribulations looking for her dad. And that's that part that you saw. And she's like, if you just promise me that if you find him, and I was already in tears, but then she was like, I looked for him, and she was so frustrated and so upset. And so when I went out, they were very, very sneaky because we had two Joshes. So I had one, I always called him Sound Josh. And so Sound Josh was like, Lord Jean, I need to take your battery. And I was like, oh, excuse me. And that's when Brad's like, Michael's here. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna be a part of this. This is not gonna turn into she's gonna scream at him and stuff. And he's like, no. I said, you go get Pam. And so they called Pam out.
Yeah.
And I told Pam's like, no way. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. And so it was great. And they told her that I had some extra time, that we had finished up early, and they were wondering if she would have an extra day to come and hang out with me and we get some more footage. So she had no clue either. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, when Pam and I saw Michael, we were like, that's him. Because I kept saying, I think that they're going to, I said, we're all mic'd up. And I'm like, dude, they're not going to be able to use any of this because we're like, that's him.
Yeah. Well, we were doing that. We were doing that watching, going, oh, that's him. They found
I know. But yeah, so I saw her and I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. I said, hey, we're finishing up. Come on and take a look. I said, are you wired in case we ask you a question? She's like, yeah, they already wired me. I'm like, okay. And I just tranced her right through there. And I was like, Michael, I would like to introduce you. And I stepped aside and pulled her through. And I was like, your daughter. And I was just over there like, oh, and it was the most beautiful thing. I was like, if you guys need anybody here at Relative Race, I would like to work. I would like to have people find their people.
Exactly.
And it's funny because Michael was living in South Florida right by her.
Oh my goodness.
And last year he transferred jobs in his union up to Tennessee.
Oh.
And so yeah, so she's just like, oh my gosh. And it was great. They had a great Thanksgiving. Kara drove her and the boys up and they spent Thanksgiving with Michael and his wife. So it was awesome.
Good. That's great. Thanks for the update on that, because they do that from time to time, and it's just wonderful that it's not just the teams on the show, but other people that are related to the teams and end up making those connections too. And so we love that when that happens. So congratulations, Team Green, for your win. Congratulations, Team Red, for
Team Red.
all those first place wins. Oh, you guys were fabulous. You guys did.
Yeah.
You guys did so well. And with that, any last minute questions, or is there anything that we didn't ask you that you wanted to get out there?
Precious just texted and said to give everyone her love, and she's so sorry she couldn't make it.
We miss her.
Yeah, we miss her, and we
Yes.
will try to catch up with everybody as season 15 starts, and we'll shoot out some invitations for y'all to come on and tell us how you're liking season 15. Yes, ma'am. Laura Jean.
Feel free to call Pam and I when you interview season 15, because
oh my goodness.
Uh-oh, is this gonna be a secret you're unveiling on GenFriends?
Ooh, tell us.
I think you need to wait until that happens.
Okay, you can tell us after we're done recording.
Yeah, let's stop recording. Yeah,
we'll stop recording and then you can tell us.
Okay.
Now we're all excited. All right, stop it, Cheri.
All right, I will do that.
Say bye.
Stay on, don't go off. Thanks everybody for being here. Camille, thank you so much. And thank you, Camille, too, because you've been my point person trying to get everybody on. Thank you for
You're
trying.
welcome.
Laura Jean,
absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
so much. Yes, absolutely. We have loved talking to you, and this wonderful panel that joins me every week. I appreciate y'all so much, and you've always got such good questions and good thoughts. So with that, we will see you next time on GenFriends, and we'll definitely see you for season 15. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.